Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another collection video. Now, apart from films, music is my main other passion, and I thought, just for a bit of a change up, I will show you my movie soundtracks collection on CD. I think this should be all of them. Got a feeling there's a couple missing, but never mind. As we know, music can be a very important part of a film experience. Some of these, it's because of the composer, it's because of the band that did the soundtrack, or it's because I like the film. Some of these films I don't actually have, but again, because of who does the soundtrack, or I like the music, that's why I got them. So I'm just going to do an A to Z of films, and then I've kind of separated my kind of favourite composers into wee bundles as well. So bear with me, because this might be quite a long video, because it's one of those things where you say, that was a good idea while I was thinking about it, but as all my CDs are in boxes at the moment, just for space, because my films are taking over, I realised I've actually got quite a lot of soundtracks. So I'll not talk too much about them, otherwise we'll be here all night, and none of us want that. So the first one is the Angelic Conversation, from the 1985 Derek Jarman film, which I've never seen. But this is performed by Coil, who I'm a big fan of. The next one is Baraka. This is an amazing film. I should really do random reviews of it. This and the follow-up, Samsara. It's just amazing. And this is the soundtrack. The Big Lebowski. Bugsy Malone. Casino. This is a 2-disc set, because it's a very long film. Where are we? Cosmopolis. It's by Howard Shore, who did most of Cronenberg's work and the band Metric, who I love. So that's why, several reasons why I've got this one. Dead Man by Neil Young. Again, several reasons why I've got that one. Delicatessen, which is one of the best soundtracks I've got, I think. Flash Gordon by Queen, which is awesome, like the film. Field of Dreams. Firefly. Technically this is a TV show, but the same with this one, Flight of the Conchords. This is the season 1 soundtrack, essentially. Hellraiser. Of course, interestingly, Coil originally did the music for Hellraiser, and then it was shelved. But I have that as part of a Coil album. But this is the actual music that made it to the film. Heat. It's another great soundtrack. The Insider. That's just the way the alphabet worked, honest. Into the Wild, which is a really good film, and the soundtrack's by Eddie Vedder, so need I say more? Judgment Night, which is a daft wee film but enjoyable, and this is a metal rap collaboration soundtrack. The Jungle Book. Kundun, which made it into my top 10 Scorsese films, controversially. Speaking of which, Last Waltz, which didn't make it into my top 10 Scorsese films. Lone Star. Sadly, it's easier to get a soundtrack of a John Sayles film than it is to actually get a John Sayles film. Tunes from the Looney Tunes, and this has 48 tracks of opening and closing credits from the cartoons. A lot of good stuff in that. The Lost Boys, it's 80s cheese, but it is actually a rather good soundtrack. Magnolia. Another John Sayles, Matewan. Most of his music is done by Mason Daring. Monty Python Sings, which has a lot of their hits from their films. Mulholland Drive, which I have forgotten to put into the Angelo Badalamenti pile, so I'll quickly put that into that Angelo Badalamenti file. Nobody noticed that, did they? No. Nanette et Bonnie. Never seen the film. It's because the Tinder Sticks did the soundtrack. This is another cheat. This is the music from NFL films. This is 37 tracks, including obviously the best one is The Autumn Wind, which is the soundtrack of the Oakland Raiders, of course. Night on Earth, Tom Waits, because I'm a huge Tom Waits fan, and I'm also a huge Jim Jarmusch fan. Top 10 Jim Jarmusch is coming. I know I keep saying that. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? One from the Heart, Tom Waits and Crystal Gale. This is the extended edition. Yes, I'm that sad. I'm a Tom Waits completist, because it had 2 extra tracks. Another Jarmusch, Only Lovers Left Alive. A great film and a great soundtrack. Reservoir Dogs. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, of course. Serenity. The new deluxe edition of the Singles soundtrack, which has a lot of Seattle bands. Of course, Spinal Tap. I mean, how much more black could it be? None more black. It's like a mirror. And you should have seen what they wanted to put in the cover. Team America World Police. Don't judge too hard. Again, this is a cheat slightly, but I'm sure it did get a theatrical release. Stop Making Sense. Jonathan Demme directed it, so that counts. That's the original release. Thief, Tangerine Dream, of Michael Mann's first great film. 32 short films by Glenn Gould. If you love Bach, then I would recommend getting it. Trouble Man, Marvin Gaye. Still haven't actually seen Trouble Man. It's quite hard to track down. Again, this is a slight cheat. True Stories, Talking Heads. This is actually the band performing the songs, but obviously the Criterion edition includes the CD of the actual soundtrack. 2001: A Space Odyssey, including the bizarre atonal space trip stuff, which is quite scary if you listen to it in the dark. Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, because there is some fantastic songs in this. Right, so I'm going to go to some of my favourite composers now, after you've recovered from that big bundle. So I'm a big Nine Inch Nails fan, which means I'm a big Trent Reznor fan, and obviously he's now like won an Oscar for his soundtrack work. So this is The Girl with Dragon Tattoo, the inferior remake, but this is 3 discs. This is Gone Girl, which I've still never actually seen. This is a 2-disc collection of the music. Lost Highway, fantastic soundtrack. The Social Network. And again, this is TV, but I'm going to include it anyway. This is his Vietnam War. Again, this is 2 discs. So I'm going to go to Michael Dana next, who has done a lot of stuff. I only have 3 of his, all Atom Egoyan soundtracks. The first one is The Adjuster, which is probably my favourite Atom Egoyan film. It's fantastic. I'll probably have a random review at some point, or a top 10 Egoyan. Next one is Exotica. I mean, Atom Egoyan's not to everybody's taste, but he does have some really good films. And The Sweet Hereafter, which Sarah Polley actually sings, I think, 4 tracks on this. That's a nice little soundtrack for a nice little film. Now I've just got one here, and it's Joe Hisaishi meets Kitano films. Again, a top 10 Kitanos coming soon. Kitano's music, well, the music in Kitano films is just fantastic, understated but quite beautiful, and that's due to Joe Hisaishi. I do need to get more of his work, as I've probably ruined his name as well. But that's a fantastic collection. If you want to start, I highly recommend this one. There's also a Studio Ghibli compilation, because I didn't realise they actually did a lot of Studio Ghibli music as well. I'm not really familiar with Studio Ghibli's films, apart from Spirited Away. John Carpenter Anthology, which has all the hits. Assault on Precinct 13, which might actually be the greatest theme tune of all time. I know Halloween, everybody loves Halloween and The Thing, but Assault on Precinct 13 is fantastic. The next one is Angelo Badalamenti, who does a lot of David Lynch stuff. And as I mistakenly showed you before, Mulholland Drive. And The City of Lost Children, which is fantastic. Film and music. Blue Velvet. And I do have Wild at Heart, but I can't seem to find it. The Straight Story, which is just absolutely beautiful. You just put that on and play it all afternoon, and it's quite wonderful. Twin Peaks from the TV show, which again is absolutely brilliant. Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Twin Peaks, this is the songs from the new series, which was surprisingly quite excellent. There was one episode that I didn't particularly like, but it was way better than I thought it was going to be. And again, this is just the soundtrack from the new series. I do think Angelo Badalamenti's fantastic as well. The next one is it's quite emotional for me. It's Zbigniew Preisner, who again I've butchered his name, who did a lot of Krzysztof Kieślowski films. And again, a top 10 Kieślowski's coming up, but I do find it difficult to talk about him or rank his films because it was such a tragedy 21 years ago now, which is unbelievable. This is one of the ones I'm most happy about having in my collection, and this is the soundtrack to Decalogue. Again, Zbigniew Preisner is very much like Joe Hisaishi as far as his music is very delicate but poignant and moving and powerful. And there's little Pavel from episode 1. Poor Pavel. But I'm so happy to get that because it's an absolutely beautiful album. It has 25 tracks. They're not very long, but it's absolutely beautiful. You know, if you're not a big fan of film music, then you kind of need to buy that, and I'm sure it'll change your mind. Next is Double Life of Veronique. Again, this is a short one, but absolutely fantastic. The scene with the puppets, and again, it's got stuff from Van den Biedermeier, the composer that Kieślowski just made up. Trois Couleurs Bleues, which is beautiful. That's 25 tracks as well. Trois Couleurs Rouges, which is beautiful, strangely enough. And controversially, I don't have Trois Couleurs Blancs, which I really need to get. The next one is actually a best of, which is a very good introduction to his music if you're not familiar. It's called Preisner's Music, strangely enough. And this has 25 tracks from a lot of different films, because he's done stuff like The Secret Garden and Europa, Not All, Damage, When a Man Loves a Woman, At Play in the Fields of the Lord. So not just Kieślowski, he's done a lot of good work. And this isn't from a film. This is one of the hardest, well for me anyway, CDs to listen to. This is Zbigniew Preisner's Requiem for My Friend, which was pretty much a piece of music he wrote after Kieślowski's death. And it's not an easy listen. It is quite beautiful and sad in a morbid way. Yep, nothing like ending on a happy note. So there's just two things left. The first thing is again another one that I'm quite happy to have in my collection, and it is the soundtrack to Rashomon and Seven Samurai, which I'm obviously a huge Kurosawa film. For me, he's the best filmmaker of all time. So it is just two tracks. It's essentially Rashomon and Seven Samurai. Sorry, if you can see that. And it's absolutely fantastic. But you know that if you've seen the films. So finally, for me, next is the greatest film composer of all time. You can probably guess who it is. It's not Danny Elfman. He has the ability, or what I call the note, that just makes you have goosebumps. He's done hundreds of films, and his stuff is amazing. I mean, for me, forget about film composer. He's the best composer, period, of the 20th century. And of course, I'm talking about Ennio Morricone. He's absolutely amazing. One of my volumes of bad poetry is called the Morricone Note, because it is that note that just, it's the note where in Once Upon a Time in the West, the crane shot over the station. It's the note in Legend of 1900 when you see the Statue of Liberty. It just has that, whatever that note is, that makes people have that emotional response. Morricone has it. So I'm just going to go through some of the films and then there's some collections. And I need to get more. Everybody needs to get more. You should be taught in schools. This is the best offer. Sorry, my voice went really high there. This is the best offer, or Deception, it was known as, which is a really nice film. Next is the classic Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Also, The Ecstasy of Gold and The Trio are two of the greatest pieces of music ever written, I think. Hateful Eight. Also, this being a Tarantino soundtrack, there's bits of dialogue as well. The Legend of 1900. Now, I'm hoping to do a Giuseppe Tornatore. Not sure about a top 10, it might be a top 5. But for me, this is number 1. I know Cinema Paradiso got all the awards, but for me, Cinema Paradiso is nowhere near the masterpiece that Legend of 1900 is. I might even do a random review of that, because I've got the director's cut, which is even better on Blu-ray. I think this might be his best soundtrack. I know that's controversial. It's just absolutely wonderful. And any Morricone fans out there, I would recommend it, but you've probably got it. This Legend 1900. This is The Thing. Obviously the theme tune is famous. John Carpenter did that one, but the other stuff, it's maybe unlike a Morricone, because it's a bit of synth and electronic stuff. And then I've got a bunch of collections, which is Ennio Morricone, and this has about 16 tracks on it. This is A Fistful of Sounds, which has, it's 2 discs, and this has the complete soundtracks of A Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More and Once Upon a Time in the West. Once Upon a Time in the West is awesome. That's probably my top 5 films of all time, and certainly my top 5 soundtracks as well. This is Morricone music for Tarantino. So it features stuff that was in Django Unchained, Death Proof, Kill Bill Volume 1, Inglourious Bastards, and Kill Bill Volume 2. This is Ennio Morricone, 60 Years of Music. There's a great man there. And this is 23 tracks. You won't be able to read them. I suppose you can maybe pause them and read them. And this is a 5 CD collection of Ennio Morricone. I'm not going to get them all out, they're just different different coloured discs. And the final thing you'll be glad to know, which again I'm really happy about having, this is Ennio Morricone in Venice. This is also a DVD, and it has a book, and it's got a nice hardback book. It's absolutely wonderful. It's, what is it? It's over 2 hours, and it's just sensational. And that's the. There's a soprano who does the Once Upon a Time in the West theme. She comes on in a red dress and performs it. And the first time the first time I saw it, I actually wept because it was just so beautiful. It actually brought me to tears. That's how good it is. So if you can get your hands on that, I would highly recommend it. He plays all the hits. So thank you very much for bearing with me. And that's just a little taste of my film soundtrack collection. Please let me know in the comments if you like collecting film soundtracks, or you don't really bother, or what's your favourite one, or what ones would you recommend. And thank you very much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again soon, hopefully. Cheers.